Good morning, Humanity Church. How is everyone this morning? I'd like to welcome you again to worship. And a couple of things to think about. If you are on Facebook, this is the time to start a party. You can comment there. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe so that you don't miss us week in, week out, plus other things that are going on during the week. We are not in a normal worship setting, but I want to remind everyone here, if you've been here to Humanity Church, it's never been an average and normal worship service because we get to be here with God and be transformed by His light, His love, and His power. So what I want to encourage everyone there at home to do is exactly as you would do if you were here. And if you've never been here, man, I'm telling you, one day we're going to open up the doors. It's going to be a big party. You're all invited. But what I'm going to encourage everyone to do is that as the musicians are playing and as they invite us into worship, that you there in your homes just stand up, sit down, lay down, do whatever you need to do to really get in the moment and be in it with us. It was so awesome. I was talking to someone earlier in the week, and they so appreciated the fact that we are doing a live service because they felt connected, and they really said thank you to us because it was their way of connecting every week. Also, you can connect online through groups and a bunch of resources that I'll talk about in a moment. But right now, I'd like us to just get into the place where we just give thanks to God. Right now, last week, Leslie said this is not a show, and it's not. It's a place that we get to be in the presence of a holy God and experience a unique, set-apart moment. And now I want to usher us in through worship.
On the shores of my soul, I give you permission to wash my tears away and take all my disappointment and fill me with joy once again. Fill me up. Away and take all my disappointments and fill me with joy once again. I'm gonna sing out loud and let my voice be heard, 'cause it's a song of victory. Above the shame, so lonely. Your kindness, it has lifted me to see the way that you see. On the top, yeah, on the top of my cage, I am sitting. Yeah, above the shame, so lonely. Yeah. Oh, your kindness, it has lifted me to see the way that you see.
everyone that's at home, I invite you to see something bigger. A lot of the times we look to our problems like it's so insurmountable, but I ask you to look to the bigness of your God today rather than the bigness of your problems.
The one who made the blind to see is moving here in front of me, moving here in front of me. The one who made the deaf to hear, it's silencing my every fear, silencing my every fear. I believe in you, I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe in you, I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. You're the one who does impossible. It's reaching out to make me whole. The one who put death in his place. His life is flowing through my veins. His life is flowing through my veins. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. God of miracles. Every breath is a miracle. Every breath is a miracle. When we wake up and see with our eyes, it's a miracle. The God who was and is to come. The power of the risen one. The God who brings the dead to life. You're the God of miracles. God of miracles. The God who was and is to come. The power of the risen one. Alive in me, believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I believe in you.
Can't speak, so close I can feel you breathe. You're so holy and worthy. You know I've been. Can't move, so close to you. I'm see-through, not so innocent like you. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm living in awe. You don't need me at all, but you couldn't love me more. I'm living in awe, and every day I fall, but you never let me go. Ooh, I'm living in awe. Can't speak, so close I can feel you breathe. You're so holy and worthy. You know where I've been. Can't move, so close to you. I'm see-through, not so innocent like you. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm living it up, 'cause you don't need me at all, but you couldn't love me more. Ooh, I'm living in awe, and every day I fall, but you never let me go. I'm living in awe. I'm living in awe of you. Living in awe of you. 'Cause your love is overwhelming. Your love is overwhelming. It's only you and me. 'Cause your love is overwhelming. Your love is overwhelming. And I can barely breathe. I'm living in awe. 'Cause you don't need me at all, but you couldn't love me more. You couldn't love me more. You couldn't love me more. Pour out all my worship with my life, my everything. My tears, they fall before you. For what your love has done to me. I see a yes to me in your nail-pierced hands. And I will love you, Lord, and walk in your commands. This is more than words, more than a song. It's my life laid down. There's action involved, more than words. joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. I'll find it in Jesus Christ. And it's my joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. I'll find it in Jesus Christ. And it's my joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. I'll find it in Jesus Christ. And it's my joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. Oh, and I love you with my yes and with my obedience. I love you with my yes, Jesus. I love you with my yes and with my obedience. I love you with my yes, Jesus. I will love you with my yes. Said I will love you with my yes. Oh, Jesus. I'm not just gonna follow you when it's convenient. I'm not just gonna follow you 'cause I wanna look good. I'm not just gonna claim Christianity because it's the majority. I'm gonna claim you as my Lord. I'm gonna claim you as my Lord. I'm not gonna feel looking crazy. I'm not gonna feel looking wild. I'm not gonna fear following you. Because you know the ways of my soul, author of my soul, the author of my soul. You're the author of my soul. I set my pride aside. You're the author of my soul. I set my pride aside. Lord, I surrender everything to you that's keeping me from hearing your voice. I surrender everything to you that's keeping me from hearing what you're trying to say. Your words are so powerful, God. Ooh, I humble myself before your throne. I'm not just gonna follow you so I could look good. I'm not just gonna follow you because I'm trying to fit in. I'm not just gonna follow you because somebody older than me told me to. I'm gonna follow the author of my soul. I'm gonna follow the author of my soul. Your ways are higher. It's my joy. It's my joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. I'll find it in Jesus Christ. And it's my joy to lose my life and and find it in Jesus Christ. I'll find it in Jesus Christ. And it's my joy to lose my life and find it in you. Oh, I'll find it in you. I said it's my joy to lose my life and find it in Jesus Christ. I find it in Jesus Christ. I will love
That was awesome. Thank you so much. We continue our time of worship through giving. Yes, and we love giving here. There's a few ways to give. If you're watching on our website, you can just click donate, give real easy there. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can simply text 77977. You can simply text Humanity Church to 77977. You can give very easily there. Also, we really want you to fill out the digital guest card. You can go on to our website, find the digital card there, and we want to know that you're out there, and we do because we're getting a lot of that feedback. Also, if you have any prayer requests, they could be listed there. A couple of things, every Friday at 7 a.m., there's a prayer group that goes over the prayer requests, and we pray for everything. You're welcome to join there. And the big thing is our online groups are blowing up. It was awesome this week. We had a friend who joined us from Alabama. So cool that she was on there, and we have people joining from all over the globe, really. It's just been so awesome. And we really do appreciate you guys tuning in and really participating, because we really, really do enjoy hearing from you and knowing that we're in this together. This week, as I was thinking about everything, for me, this was the hardest week so far. It was tough. My mind was racing, and I tend to focus on absolutely only the good things ever, which is not true. I went into a little bit of chaos, but what was so cool is that as I was preparing for this, I'm recognizing that out of gratefulness is where generosity flows. And I found this. It's so interesting. I found this in Psalms 146, starting in verse 8. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. The Lord is good to all, and his mercy is over all that he has made. All your works shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and all your saints shall be blessed. They shall speak of the glory of your kingdom and tell of your power. And as you're preparing to give, I want you to start thinking about all those things that you're grateful for and how that simply expands the border of heaven on earth. And I want to name, and I'll encourage you to do this with your families. Sit down a couple times a week and just talk about the good things that happened that day. Not a year ago, not what you're hoping for, but just that day, the simple little pleasures that God allowed that day. And as I was thinking of that, we have good friends, and I'm going to name them, Nor and Rita, who this morning just came and provided breakfast for all of us. And what was so amazing is that the fruit was so beautiful. It was so, like, I did eat it, and I'm going to eat more of it, but it's like, it was like art. And I thought, that is just so beautiful. And I got to sit down yesterday in my office, and I chatted with a friend that, we just haven't sat down and just chilled for a while, and that was just so good. And then I get to be here and listen to these guys, and they are so good. You guys, honestly, man, you just are a blessing. And as you're preparing your digital card, filling that out, getting your giving together, think about that. How God has been so gracious and so merciful. And for me and for us here, I know the only response is gratitude. That's all I'm left with. It's so awesome that we have a God that all he leaves you is to say thank you. And that's just so good. And give you a couple of minutes, guys, to get that all together. Well, guys, we have a message for families. So if you've got littles or mediums or bigs, doesn't matter. Gather everyone around. Gather them around right now. We've got a special message. You don't want to miss this. Did I say it enough? Gather everyone around. You don't want to miss this, guys.
Hey guys, how's it going? I miss you guys so much.
Hi, my friends.
Hi, Humanity Kids.
Hi, Humanity Kids. We miss you.
Hello, everybody from Mini Kids.
Just wanting to express how much I miss all of you guys so much.
I miss you all so very much.
I love you guys, and I miss you so much.
I'm not going back up.
I miss you guys. I really do.
Hi, kiddos. We miss you.
Hi, kids. We miss you.
Do you guys miss me?
Hi, kids. We just want to say we miss you and we can't wait to be back in the classroom and at church teaching you and seeing you every week.
Missing all your hugs, missing all your smiles, missing all your laughter.
Just remember to keep practicing your Bible verses.
Hope you're staying safe and being nice to your parents and your siblings.
I really miss your faces. I miss our conversations.
Playing games, learning about Jesus, eating cheese puffs.
I miss our laughs, our deep conversations, our prayers, all of the games that we would play.
And playing Duck, Duck, Goose, and all the other fun activities that we get to do together.
You are being thought of, prayed for, and loved on from afar.
I miss you so much, and I can't wait till we can hang out again and have fun and learn more about Jesus.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys real soon.
Remember, Jesus loves you guys so, so much.
And I can't wait till we're together again at the castle.
But I hope you're healthy and well, and I can't wait till we're all back together.
And we will see you soon.
And we're praying for you guys and can't wait to see you.
I can't wait to see you guys, and I can't wait till we're back at the castle together.
I love you and be good. Mwah.
Can't wait to see you soon. Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
I love you very much, and take care.
Bye, love you. See you later.
Oh, man, I love that. So good. Our family ministries team is just second to none here at Humanity Church. And what I love is they love your kids so much. And I know they're missing your kids. Our kids are missing their teachers and their helpers. So thank you to all the families out there who are a part of what we're up to. Thank you to all the volunteers. I know we're anxious to get back. And as soon as it's safe and we're ready to go, we'll be back together here in the castle soon. So kids, hey, keep going. Keep enjoying those Kids Humanity videos that we have up online for you. Your teachers love you, and they'll be connecting with you soon. Hey, I want to give you a quick update on our Humanity Global, because usually this is the time of year where we start wrapping things up and going forward with that, but obviously we're not taking trips this summer. And so we were able to fund some really cool projects in Thailand, which we'll be telling you about a little bit later. But this last week, I got a call from Ed Dixon, or a Facebook message, I should say, from Ed Dixon, who oversees a lot of the work that we do in Ukraine specifically. And you can see how people in certain pockets of the United States, New York, Los Angeles County, are getting hit by the coronavirus. And you can imagine that times 10 in a developing nation like Ukraine and parts of the Ukraine that we work in. And there's a specific children's hospital that we have been supporting and doing ongoing work with over the last few years, really. And if you go to this hospital, those of you who have been with us on trips, you would know you would never, ever want to send your kids there, but it's the best that they have. And these team of workers are incredible. And so he Facebook messaged me and said, hey, could humanity possibly get like a non-contact thermometer for our hospital there so the kids don't have to use the same thermometer over and over in their mouths? And I asked the price, and they were like, it's $90. And I said, absolutely, we can get two. We'll get you two. We'll go crazy, and we'll get two of them. And I said, hey, send over some other needs that you guys have. And it was interesting because Ed said, I just assumed that you, like most churches, have reallocated your global funds that were going to be used this year towards preserving your own ministries. And we at Humanity Church, we're making sure that we're financially stable with what we're doing here. And I said, no. That money we pledge to you, and we pledge to the work of God around the world, and it will be going towards that. And so many of us gave sacrificially in December, and so we are still committed to making that happen. We have reserves that we are using to help families in need and ongoing crises here in the United States, here in Pomona, here in the region, but we are committed to making sure that our movement doesn't waver in the middle of crisis. And so he came back and he said, hey, here's a list of things that we need. And so we're starting to fund those things little by little. But let me just tell you this last week, what you funded at Humanity Church through our giving back in December. We not only got them 2 non-contact thermometers so that they could just check kids' temperatures when they come in, but we also got 11 hospital chairs to make sure that each room actually had a place where children could be examined, and they could be examined in a safe way. If you went there, oftentimes they were examined on benches or tables that were from the Soviet era. And so we were able to get 11 hospital chairs. They also had medicine to fight the coronavirus and other illnesses, but it had to be refrigerated. They didn't have refrigerators. And so they were basically having to use everything they had right away, or not able to store anything. So we were able to purchase 2 refrigerators for them, so they're able to keep all of their medicine safe and available and on stock for these kids that come in. And then on top of that, their trauma center had no beds at all within it. Could you imagine going into a trauma center where someone's coming in, needed to be intubated or needed to get help, and there's like no working trauma beds? And so we were able to fund 1 trauma bed for them moving forward. And so that's where we're starting. And next week, we are so excited to tell you about some of the ongoing projects that we're going to be funding, not only in Ukraine, but Thailand and Mexico. And here's the thing that I love about our community is that it would be really easy in this season to just pull everything back and say, let's save everything for us. And we are committed to being a people who are a spiritual reference point for the Pomona Valley, and that will continue. So don't worry, it's not like we're taking all of our cash reserves and throwing them overseas, but our second part of our vision is to be a spiritual reference point to the ends of the earth, a sending base to the ends of the earth. And so that's going on. We just want to thank you for those of you who gave in December to our global campaign. While we're not able to go, we're still able to bless and to grow and to support the ongoing work there. And the cool thing about this is that literally hundreds of kids a day will be able to have medical care from an organization that is connected to the movement of Jesus and is giving a message of hope and life while literally saving lives in the midst of that. So really cool things happening. Thank you for those of you who have given. We're excited to announce upcoming projects in the next few weeks. If you can't tell, this week it's hot here. So I know you're home in your air conditioning and you're in your pajamas and it's nice, but it's warm here. So we've just saved you from this moment here. So if I'm a little sweaty today, you know what's going on with that. Hey, let's pray this morning before we jump in. Father, thank you so much that we have the opportunity to connect to one another in a unique format, God. It's not the format that many of us prefer, but it's the way that you have provided in this moment, God. And so I ask that you would move, as crazy as it sounds, in the airwaves and through internet cables and through televisions and computer screens and phones, God, and that you would unite us together as if we were with one another here in this place, God. I thank you for those who are joining us from overseas and who are joining us from around the United States, God. Would you bless them and bless us in this conversation as we push into freedom. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen, amen. So last week we started a conversation called Finding My Freedom. And ironically, we decided to engage this conversation at the beginning of January. And we talked about how we are recognizing that people all around us seem to be stuck in this place of slavery in some way, shape, or form. And ironically, now here we are in a season where it doesn't feel very free, where a lot of our liberties have been just removed for us temporarily to fight together this illness that we find ourselves in. But this is really a larger conversation. And let's just be honest, the heat makes it worse, right? I mean, being on stay-at-home orders with beautiful weather outside in Southern California, it makes our freedoms feel even that much more gone in the midst of all of this. But the reality is, it feels like our freedom has been restricted. But let's just be honest, for so many of us, there have been areas in our lives that have been restricted or enslaved long before this moment. That there have been, for some of us, years and years where it felt like our finances or our heart or our emotions or our minds have been enslaved to certain conversations, or we've been stuck in certain behaviors, whether it's physical or spiritual or mental or emotional, that we have found ourselves stuck in certain areas. And this moment has simply just highlighted the reality that we've already been in, that we felt stuck internally. And so when you take away external freedoms, it ramps things up. In other words, you can have all the liberties available to you and still be enslaved. You could be completely free to live the life that you were designed to live and still be stuck. And the reality is that freedom is a deeply spiritual state and has very little to do with the externals around us. This last week, I was asking myself the question, I wonder what our future is going to look like. If you know me, I'm rarely present, and I'm rarely in the past, but I'm constantly thinking, what's next? Where are we headed? And I've been thinking a lot about what's the future world that we're going to live in. And Marla and I have been listening to a lot of podcasts and trying to pick out who are the experts. And it's really so diverse what people say our future is going to look like. Some people say, hey, we're going to be getting back into normal life by the end of summer. Others say that you won't be able to see your grandkids for 4 years. Others are saying that restaurants will never be open the way that they are before. And others are saying, hey, it's safe to go out tomorrow. So it's hard to know how to plan for the future. And I found myself in this conundrum, like, what is our future going to look like? Will things forever be changed? Who's going to be the person that decides what our future is going to look like and how we are to interact with one another? And I felt this anxiety coming up inside of me, thinking, who is going to determine my future that I live in, and who is going to shape the world that my children live in for me? And I was wondering, who is going to make all of these decisions? Then it dawned on me suddenly that I get to make that decision. That I get to choose, that we get to choose what our future looks like. And yes, of course, there will be regulations and guidelines to follow and recommendations around what's most safe and what's less safe. But the reality is that we together will decide what our future looks like in the middle of that. And what I realized in just that moment of pondering and having this realization that we get to choose is how fast I had given my freedom away. How fast, even in the question of, hey, who's going to decide for me what my future is going to look like and how I get to interact with people and how I get to love people, I realized in that moment how fast I gave up my freedom to choose. And I thought, how many times do we do that in life? How often are we looking for someone else to make the decision for us, to choose for us? Because let's just be honest, it's just easier that way sometimes. Sometimes we don't want to be in charge of making our own decisions and taking the risks that comes with deciding what our future will look like. And that doesn't mean we don't take into consideration wisdom and counsel and guidelines and best practices. But I'm not saying that we throw caution to the wind either, that we just go do what we want. But what I do notice is how often we default to giving away our freedom rather than embracing it and stepping into a space where we are freely creating our future. Because here's the reality, is that when it comes to the human experience, you will always be mastered by someone or something. We talked about that last week, that you will be mastered by some force, some things. There is no situation where your life is free from the influence or the control of an outside force. So whether you are controlled by love or bitterness, whether you are controlled by greed or finding recognition, or whether you are controlled by envy or hope or fear or love, there will always, always, always be an outside force that is moving and guiding your life. But here's where your freedom comes in, is you get to choose that force. You get to choose the outside entity that masters your life, and whatever master you choose determines the amount of freedom that you find yourself in. And that's where our freedom comes, is the ability to choose who and what masters and governs our life. I love that Jesus often used word pictures, these analogies, we call them parables, to explain these deeper spiritual realities. So turn with me to John chapter 15, starting in verse 1. If you have a copy of the scriptures, you can open up there. By the way, we have a brand new viewing platform on our app and on our website. So if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, just pull out your phone right now and hop onto our app and click on media and live stream. If you're on our website, you can go to live stream. That way you can join the chat. You can also read your Bible from there. It's just a much easier viewing platform. So even if you're watching from another place, hop on your phone so you can join the chat and join in the community that's taking place. You will never probably ever have an opportunity to talk during church like this, so might as well enjoy it while you have it. But Jesus gives us this word picture in John chapter 15, starting verse 1. It says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, but it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. If you remain in me and my word remains in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be complete and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has none than this, to lay one's life down for friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because my servant does not know what his master's business is. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you may ask in my Father's name will be given to you. This is my command: love each other. Jesus used this analogy of grapevines, of vines and then branches that go out from those vines. We have grapevines in our backyard, and I know I've talked about them before, but we planted them I planted them about 4 years ago, and thinking that one day we'll have like neighbor vineyards in our backyard. And finally, just last year, they started producing fruit. And here's the thing: if you know anything about grapevines, there's a giant vine that comes out of the ground, and from those come branches, and it's on the branches that the leaves and the fruit are produced in the middle of that. But here's the thing, is that the branch is completely dependent on the vine. That the branch has to rely completely on the vine for everything that it needs to produce its fruit and to produce its leaves. And so it is the job of the vine to produce everything that the branch needs. If that branch is cut off for any reason, shape, or form, it no longer has what it needs. So it is completely dependent on the vine. However, it's the vine's job to provide everything the branch needs. And so Jesus says there's this symbiotic relationship that connects us to Jesus, and that it is our job to stay connected to him, who is the vine, to give us everything that we need. But that's the beautiful thing, is that we don't have to worry, because it's not our job to produce what we need in life. It's not our job to be stressed or to be striving or to move as quickly as we can to get what we need, because our job is just to stay connected in the middle of this. And Jesus says that when you connect to me, it will make me Lord. That's the relationship that he invites us into, at least one of them. It's the primary relationship that he invites us into. He says, when you connect to me, you are now 100% dependent on me, that I become your Lord. But here's the beautiful thing. He says, as you connect to me and you make me master of your life, I will set you free. That as your master, I will release you from the burden of slavery, and you will be set free to fully live. And here's why he says this. He says, because servants are unaware of what the master is up to. But when you connect to me as your Lord, I'm going to give you the playbook. I'm going to inform you of what's taking place all around you. Have you ever worked for a boss that withheld information from you? But you knew things were going on? Like you knew there was trouble going on in the background, or you knew there were meetings that were taking place that involved you, or you knew something was going on with the payroll or with sales or with HR, and they just withheld information, but you were clear something was taking place. It's difficult to work in that environment, isn't it? Have you ever been in a relationship where someone withholds their emotions and their thoughts from you? And you're always having to guess, like, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Are they upset with me right now? Are we okay? Are we not okay? I don't really know what's going on. And so there's a lack of freedom in any relationship where you are unaware of what's taking place, whether it's at a workplace or whether it's a friendship or in a marriage or any type of relationship where the information is withheld. Our freedom is also withheld in those places because we don't really know how to move. It's completely unpredictable. On a job, you don't know one day if you're going to be fired or if you're going to be promoted. In a relationship, you don't know, like, hey, are we doing good or are you going to break up with me tomorrow? I don't know where we're headed in the middle of this. So it feels like you're trapped because you don't know how to make the next move. You don't know how to pivot and shift as you move forward in the middle of this. You're always having to anticipate what might be in the middle of all of that. I remember in college, I decided that I was going to join this intramural volleyball team with a bunch of my roommates. Now, I had never played volleyball outside of the beach with just a few friends who had no idea what we were doing. I mean, for me, volleyball was just make sure you get the ball over the net and have some fun, right? And I remember getting on the court at California Baptist University, having no idea what I was doing, thinking this is going to be fun. All you have to do is hit the ball over the net. And I remember it was my turn up to serve, and the whistle gets blown. And I'm like, what did I didn't even move. And they gave me some rule that I had broken, and I had no idea what I was doing. And okay, I guess we're done. And throughout the entire game, I found the whistle being blown time after time after time against me. And I had to pause and go, I don't know what violation I just made, but apparently I just made some type of violation, whether it was double touching or lifting or carrying or throwing. I still have no idea what those means, but apparently I was breaking every single rule of the game as I was played it, and I hated that game. I will never play real volleyball ever again, simply because I didn't know the rules. I didn't know how to play, I didn't know how to win, and I actually didn't know why we were losing. I couldn't figure out why the whistle was being blown after me time and time again. But here's the beautiful thing, is that Jesus says, when you follow me and when you make me Lord, I'm just going to give you the playbook. I will give you all the rules to play this game. And not only that, but he's saying, I am giving you these rules so that you are set up to win. I am giving you the playbook, the commands to know how to engage this game of life, and I am setting you up so that you can win this game. See, the fact of the matter is that you and I are actually set up to win in this life. We are not set up to lose. We are not set up to be tricked. We are not set up so that one day we realize, oh, we missed it. We are set up to win. We are set up so that we no longer have to be enslaved to the brokenness that we find ourselves in that blinds us to the reality of this life. And he says, if you stay with me, I will give you the playbook so that you can win. See, there is nothing more annoying in life than losing. There's nothing more than that. But the most annoying thing is losing and not know why you're losing. Have you ever found yourself there? Have you ever found yourself having the same relationship breakups over and over and over again, going, what's happening here? How am I dating the exact same person with just different heads? I don't understand this. And have you ever found yourself in finances, just realizing you're making the same mistake over and over and over again and not knowing why? Like, hey, how do we get to the end of every month and not have money? I don't understand how we got here to this place. Have you ever found yourself over and over like losing weight and then gaining weight and trying to figure out, how do we keep finding ourselves here? Whether it's our finances or our relationships or our addictions or our health or our anger, why does this keep happening? See, it's one thing to be set free. It's another thing to maintain your freedom, to actually live in a space of freedom. Because here's the thing, it's actually easy to lose weight. It's harder to keep it off. It's easy to get on a budget and to get somewhat out of debt. It's harder to stay out of debt. It's actually easier to plan a wedding and get married than it is to stay happily married. It gets difficult as we are to maintain whatever it is that we're given to us. And here's the thing, that Jesus sets us free, but then he also says, now here's the key to maintaining your freedom. Now I'm going to give you this for free today, all right? Because Jesus gave it to you for free, but I could probably charge $1,000, maybe $2,000, maybe $5,000 for this, but here it is for you for free today on our webcast. Here is the key to freedom. You ready for it? Yeah. Keep his commands. Now here's the $1 million answer. If you want to know how to maintain your freedom, it's one word: obedience. Who's up for that, right? It's interesting how many programs and pills and therapy sessions and hypnosis opportunities there are to engage your freedom. And Jesus is like, hey, let me just tell you what the actual pathway towards freedom is. He says it over and over and over again, not in this passage, but so many other passages. He just says this, he says, keep my commands. Really? Really? Is this the pathway to freedom that we really want? Because essentially he's saying, look, this thing only works if you make me Lord. This thing only works if you follow the things that I say to you. He says, look, it doesn't work if you just make me your shaman. It doesn't just work if you make me your meditation guide or your homeboy or a suggestion among many suggestions. It doesn't work when that takes place. Lord means he gets to call the shots. And we complicate things. It's actually quite simple. He gives us the playbook, we make the plays. That's what he calls us into. But here's the thing, is that even in the simplicity of it, that's where we get in trouble. Because the second we say, all right, you're Lord, I release my life to you because I am committed to being a person that is free in every area of my life. So I release it over to you. Let me have the playbook. Let's go. And here's what Jesus immediately starts doing. He starts renovating your heart. He starts going internal and starts shifting and shaping everything that's there. And if you've ever been through a renovation, you know how painful it is when you start demolition. You know how crazy things get when you decide, hey, we're going to redo the kitchen, and suddenly you don't have a sink, or suddenly you don't have a refrigerator, or suddenly the cabinets that held everything are gone. It's in the middle of the renovation that things start to get stressful. And that's oftentimes what takes place, is that when Jesus comes in, he starts renovating us internally, and we start saying, whoa, you're gonna add what? I'm not too sure if I wanted that in my life. Oh, you're taking away what? Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm up for you taking that. Oh, you're going to ask me to go talk to who? Yeah, not sure if I'm interested and up for that. And we're back to no one's telling me what to do. It's interesting how fast we find ourselves there. And then we don't like it and we cut bait and run because lordship sounded like a nice idea, freedom sounded like a nice idea, until the renovations started happening that move us to maintain that freedom. See, if a part of what being human means is that we are mastered by something, I find that for most of us, we are just perpetually angry that we're human. We're just perpetually upset that there is someone or something that will be mastering us, and we try desperately to get out from that system. We will do everything we can to get out from underneath that, because here's the thing. For most of us, we connect commanding to controlling. That those are synonymous with one another. That if you are going to command something from my life, your obvious goal is to control my life in some way, shape, or form. See, it's interesting that in the very beginning of this passage that John is writing, that Jesus speaks to us from, it basically says that you have one of two options. You can be pruned or you can be cut off. The cut is coming either way, but you get to decide what God does with the knife. And those two decisions will make very different futures for you and the people around you. He basically says, look, you don't get to choose if the cut is coming, but you do get to choose the cut. One leads to death and one will lead to your growth. See, the question that we have to wrestle with is, what do we make of a God that's holding a knife? See, often we assume that a God holding a knife is out to control us in some way, shape, or form. Because let's be honest, that's what so many of us have experienced with authority figures starting at a very young age. That we found that authority actually equals control or manipulation or abuse or abandonment in some way, shape, or form. And we learned early in life to not trust the one with the knife, to not trust the one who has the authority, to not trust the one who has the control, to not trust the one who has the ability to make commands. And so we reject the image of a God who has authority or who has control or who has a knife because other people were abusive, not him. Because other people use that authority to control, not him. Because other people use that authority to hurt and abandon and wound, not him. But he gets the brunt of it. And so we assume that a God with a knife is there to kill us. But the beautiful thing is that it's interesting. In fact, it's actually quite fascinating that he gives us an option to choose whether or not we follow his commands. See, I don't know if you noticed, but he is God. He doesn't actually need to give us an option. If I'm God, I'm not giving you an option. I'm just going to say, here's my commands, follow them. But in essence, what he is saying is you have the choice. See, the fact that the God of the universe, who has the power to control you, gives you a choice. And he says this, I would actually prefer to prune you. I would actually prefer to take all of the dead parts of your life and cut them off so that they no longer take up dead weight in your life. If you know anything about pruning, you know that the second you prune a vine or a rose bush or any type of plant, the dead weight goes off and all of the beauty comes forth with that. And he's saying, I would much rather prune you in the middle of this, but if you insist on disconnecting from me, I will let you make that choice. If you insist of removing yourself from my source, I will allow you to make that choice, even if it means I lose you. See, this is the beautiful thing, is that the God with the knife actually gives us the choice, whether or not we follow his commands into a space of freedom. Right now, we're in a very interesting season of parenting Jackson. And we're trying this new method called Love and Logic, which we think is so powerful. If you haven't read the book, as parents, you should totally get it. But the thing is that we are constantly in this space of giving Jackson choices, of allowing him to know, hey, you actually get to make your decisions. We're just going to lay out the logic for you, but you get to make your decisions. And let me just tell you, it's really annoying giving a 3-year-old the power to choose. It would be much easier for me to say, do this, or if you don't, this is taking place. But see, it's really frustrating when we come to Jackson and say, hey, you want to throw a fit? Totally your choice, but you just can't do it here. You'll have to go to your room if you want to throw a fit, right? That's a lot harder than saying, stop it right now, or you are being punished in this moment. But he gets to choose. Sure, he can throw the fit, but he can go do it in his room if he wants to. It's frustrating when we're like, hey, yeah, you can choose to hit your brother, but if you hit your brother, you're just making the choice to spend a few minutes to cool down in your room. See, it's much easier to say, no, you will not do that. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, we certainly could control him. We could modify his behavior in some way, shape, or form, but we know that at the end of the day, it's more powerful if he actually guides his heart with our oversight and our authority with him, leading him along the way so that in the process, his heart is transformed, not just his behavior. And I love that this is what Jesus does with us every single time is he says, look, you get to make the decision. I'm just the one with the knife. You're telling me what to do with it. Would you like me to cut you off completely? Because that is your option. Or would you like me to prune all of the broken, dead spaces in your life that are taking up weight, that are ensnaring you, who are keeping you from the freedom that you are called to live? It is your choice. Oh, and on top of that, in 1 John 5:3, this is what John says. It says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. See, so on top of it, he says, you get the choice whether or not you will follow my commands. But on top of that, he's saying, the commands that I'm giving you are not actually burdensome. I'm not attempting to heap things on top of you. In other words, Jesus is not attempting to put you through some type of crazy endurance test. Doesn't this moment feel like an endurance test to see how much we can take, to see how much we can get through? Not by the government or anyone else. It just feels like that, doesn't it, in this moment? But what Jesus is saying is, look, I'm not actually a drill sergeant trying to see how much you can take. That is not my purpose in giving you commands in this. He's saying the commands that I give you are actually light. They're going to remove weight from you, not heap weight on top of you. And then 90% of those commands that he's telling us are not what we're supposed to do. They are how to live. They are how to think. They are how to engage with other people. See, it's not just commanding us what to do. It's commanding us how to live. He's saying, look, here is how to love. Here is how to forgive. Here is how to be generous. Here is how to use wisdom. Here is how to serve others. Here is how to choose life. And this is the conversation that he invites us into around his commandments. So if obedience is not about control, it's not about a God who is so authoritative that he needs to demonstrate how powerful he is in some way, shape, or form, if it's not about behavior modification, and if it's not about telling you what to do and micromanaging your life, then what exactly is it about? See, what if God's call to obedience was actually his call to freedom? What if this was him saying, I am laying out the path for you to maintain your freedom? See, he says, I've set you free, but it's your choice as to whether or not you maintain that freedom. In 1 Peter 1:14, it says this. 1 Peter 1, chapter 1, starting in verse 14, he says, as obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy because I am holy. See, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commands. See, the scriptures are telling us that before we connect to Jesus, we were essentially living in ignorance. That's what the scriptures say, not me. That we were lacking awareness, and that this brokenness that we find ourselves in, it actually blinds us from the freedom that's available to us right here in the moment. That as we lack the awareness to the choices that are available to us, that when we find ourselves in brokenness, what it does is it limits everything to just the small little choice that we see in front of us. And that choice that we see is almost always going to move us towards a space of evil. It's going to move us towards a space of brokenness and hopelessness and despair and anxiety and depression time after time after time. See, when I think about this, I think about the first credit card that I got. I remember when I was about 18 years old, and I was in Guitar Center with some friends, and there was a guitar pedal that I really wanted, and it was like $350, and when I was 18 years old, $350 might as well have been like $10,000, and I remember an associate coming up to me and saying, hey man, we have a special deal going on today. I felt like I was like the rabbit being trapped by the fox right there in that moment, looking back. He's like, we have a special deal. You can sign up for a Guitar Center credit card, and you will not have to pay interest on this thing for 12 months. And I said, really? You mean I don't have to pay for this for a year? He said, no, man, you don't have to pay for this thing for a year. And so I signed up, put my life out into this. I think I got credit about $500, and I bought the guitar pedal for $350. I used it a few months, and then I was bored with it. But I remember about a year into this thing, I began thinking to myself, I probably should start making payments on this credit card. And that's when I started getting phone calls at my house from angry individuals saying, why haven't you paid your credit card? And I'm thinking, who are these rude individuals? I signed up for your credit card. I should not be getting these very, very, very inconsiderate phone calls in the middle of the night sometimes. And I began talking to them, saying, no, you don't understand. I got the special deal. I don't have to pay for this for a year. I mean, it's only like 10 months into this. I don't have to pay anything. And they said, no, son, you do. And when everyone calls you son, you know it's a little demeaning right there. But no, son, you had to pay all along. You just didn't have to pay the interest. And I'm thinking, no, that's not what the guy told me. He said that I didn't have to make any payments for a year. And he said, no, you had to make the minimum payments, but you didn't have to pay the interest. And the second you didn't make the minimum payments, the interest kicks in. And so I remember saying, oh, so what does that mean? Do I just have to start making the monthly payments? And they said, no, you now owe $875. And I began thinking, I bought a $350 pedal. Well, why on earth am I owing $850? And they walked me through it. I remember as they walked me through it, I could feel myself getting hotter and more frustrated and more fearful about what I had done because I was completely unaware that I had to make any type of payment. And now I was stuck paying a much higher price than I had ever imagined. And see, in that moment when I made that decision to get that credit card and to buy that $350 pedal, I was completely ignorant to the fact that I had to make monthly payments. Had that guy told me, hey, look, you still have to pay like $75 a month in order to maintain this, I absolutely would have never gotten that. But he conveniently left that out of the equation. See, here's what happens in life, that when we are unaware of the choices that are available to us, it limits what we see to, oh, this looks like a good idea. See, none of us ever make an evil decision thinking this is a really bad idea. This is going to move my life into complete destruction. We only make those decisions later looking at them going, what on earth was I thinking? Because we were blinded to the options that were available to us. See, it's in the blindness that breaks down our freedom. See, if I am ignorant to forgiveness that is available to those who have wronged me, I am actually trapped to only choosing bitterness over and over and over again. If I am ignorant to the decisions that are going to move me towards wholeness and expand the possibilities in my life, I am stuck in my brokenness and the choices that keep perpetuating that brokenness. If I am ignorant to all the options that open up when I am generous with my life, I am stuck in greed. If I am ignorant to the wisdom and all the choices that wisdom brings with it, then I am stuck in my foolishness. And this is what that creates, that maddening experience of having the same breakdown over and over again, losing at life over and over again, and not knowing why, is that we are blinded, we are ignorant, we are unaware of the choices that are available to us because it is the brokenness that blinds us to all the possibilities that Jesus opens up. And I love that Jesus invites us into holiness. That holiness is part of the fruit of obedience. And he is essentially saying, when you choose me, you will be set apart. You will be released from conformity. You will no longer have to look just like everyone else, but when you connect to my commands, that is when your uniqueness will be unleashed. Because suddenly, now only seeing that one choice in front of you, there are infinite numbers of choices that will move your life towards wholeness and beauty. But it starts with obedience to the one. It starts with lordship to the one. See, the other option is conformity. That's the only other option. You can choose commandments and obedience and freedom, or you can choose conformity and limiting your choices, because conformity is the same predictable pattern of life over and over and over again, but it also conforms us to the same breakdown that every single other person finds themselves trapped into. Holiness means you are free from being ordinary and mundane, that you are actually released from the ignorance that everyone else is stuck in around you. It elevates you and returns your ability to choose to be human, and it causes you to now see all of the options of righteousness that are available to you that will move your life into freedom. And this is the beauty of this. And this is the invitation of obedience to us. It's Jesus saying, look, cast off your conformity. Cast off the things that restrict you from living the most dynamic, creative, powerful life that you were designed to live, and embrace your freedom. And in your freedom, your life will produce fruit. See, that's the beautiful thing if you allow the God with the knife to prune you, is that your life will eventually produce fruit. See, that the vines on my grapevine that are growing right now in my backyard will eventually produce fruit. I was out there pruning them yesterday going, this is the vine that's going to produce fruit. This vine doesn't need to be here. But as I keep pruning them, they will eventually produce fruit. And here's the cool thing about fruit, is that the fruit, strangely enough, is not actually there to serve the vine. The fruit of your life is not actually there to serve you. See those grapes that vine will produce, they'll be for my kids to enjoy. They'll be for my wife and I, for my friends to enjoy eventually once we get towards the end of summer. So it shouldn't be a surprise that obedience leads to fruit in your life. And that fruit becomes the pathway to serving and loving others. That as you choose to obey, your life will release freedom. It will release fruit. And that is the context for others experiencing beauty and hope in life. It always comes back to that. See, here's the thing. Level 1 of freedom is I obey to release myself from my own brokenness. I obey because I personally want some type of freedom. I want to be released from some type of bondage. But level 2 of freedom, if you want to go to the next level, is I choose to maintain my freedom so that my life can be a gift to others. See, that's the next level of finding our freedom, to serve and love humanity with the freedom and the fruit that my life produces. My life becomes a catalyst for others to be set free. I remember a while back, I was a part of a small group, and I wasn't showing up. I was just saying, I'm not getting much out of this. It's not really in my schedule. It's not really working out for me. I have other things that I need to get done. I'm not getting much from this. And I remember my leader at the time, this is probably about 10 years ago, my leader who was working with me came to me and was like, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. What's been going on? I'm just like, yeah, I'm just not getting much from this. I don't feel like I'm really needed here. I don't feel like I'm really needed to engage in this. I have other areas that are fulfilling my life, so I don't really need to have this extra thing in my life. And I remember he chuckled and he said, oh, you think that showing up is for you. Oh, you thought that showing up to this group was so that you could be fulfilled. He said, did you ever think that you showing up would be so that others could find freedom? Did you ever think that rearranging your schedule to make sure that you could be there was because your voice is needed, speaking into humanity so much? Did you ever think that choosing to be here was less about your need for freedom and your willingness to show up as a vessel for others to find freedom? And I remember that moment was so convicting. I had never thought that if I was to choose freedom fully, it meant that I chose the freedom for others. And that's the beautiful thing about Jesus, is that he releases us, and then he says, now you get to go partner with me in being the catalyst to release everyone else around you. And to be honest, that's really what our groups are for, is that we hope that you show up if you need freedom in your life. But eventually, if you're not showing up to help others find freedom, something's wrong. Something's missing. And it goes with everything in life. Sometimes we start by showing up even to serve because we need something from it. And then we realize, oh, my life is a gift to others. When we give generously, it starts out with, I had a good feeling about me generously giving. And then it becomes this realization of, oh, I'm actually creating space for others to find freedom. Oh, when I show up, it isn't just about my little goosebumps and my giggles and my freedom and my happiness in this moment. It's about others being impacted because I chose to show up in the middle of all of this. See, this is the beautiful thing, is that lordship means obedience. It means I release my own need to control my life, and I hand everything over to you, the God with the knife. And I choose for you to prune me. I choose for you to remove all of the spaces that are going to hinder and ensnare and tangle my life up. But as I am set free, I choose to be a catalyst of freedom for others. See, when you hear obedience, it's not a call to control. It's not a call because God needs an authority kick. It's not a call because God needs to modify your behavior in some way, shape, or form. And it isn't even because he needs to tell you what to do. He calls you to obey for freedom. It is for freedom that you've been set free. And so last week I asked for those of you who are followers of Jesus to think about that area that you are going to release over to him. I hope you did that this week. Whether that was something with your health, or whether that was something with your emotional state, or your mental health, or your spiritual life. And this week I want you to continue in that practice, but think, how can I obey in such a way that creates freedom for me and freedom for others? And it starts with engaging the scriptures. It starts with confession. It starts with spiritual disciplines. And over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about all the things that will maintain that freedom. But the first thing that it starts with is obedience. And this morning, if you have not yet connected to Jesus, it starts with you obeying him by making him Lord. It starts with you saying, I'm willing to give this up. Not, again, because God needs a power trip or control or he needs some authority. It's because he's the only one who has come to bring you life and to give you freedom. So this morning, I know there are some of you watching from all over the world who have yet to just release your life to Jesus, just to say, I give you everything. And then I continue giving you everything so that my life can be set free, that I'm no longer enslaved and ignorant to the choices that are available to me, but I'm willing to let those blinders down, give them over to you so I can find something new. And if that's you this morning, I just want to give you an invitation to choose Jesus, to follow him with everything that you have. And we're just going to pray a prayer. It's nothing special. There's nothing magical about it. This is just you declaring to God that he is Lord. And I want you to just pray, dear Jesus, I give you my life. I know that I am broken. I know that I am enslaved or ignorant to the beautiful things you have for me. I know you died for me and came to life. Would you come and show me your freedom? Would you give me your life so that I could live? Today I choose life. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. If you prayed that prayer this morning and you're on our live stream on our website or on our app, there's a little button right now that says, hey, I made a decision to choose Jesus, and you can just click raise hand, and that'll just let us know that you made a decision this morning. It'll send you to a space where you can fill out a guest card. If you're on YouTube or Facebook right now, you can just click the link to our card, and you can fill out that card and just let us know, hey, I made that decision. We want to celebrate with you. We want to know how that we can support you, because we are a community that believes in supporting one another and finding freedom. You're not in this alone. You don't have to do this alone. This is you connecting to community along with Jesus, people that are filled with Jesus, to move with you in this journey so that you can maintain that. Hey, we're going to have another week of quarantine, of staying at home. This week, let's make this a week where we just find ourselves like wrapped up in obedience and just wrapped up in what does God have for me, and what are the things that I can continue to release to live in freedom here in this moment. If you have families, we want you to know that you can click on kids up at the top of your screen, or if you're on our website, you can click on families, and there's all kinds of resources for you to watch videos with your kids. We'll be emailing you out stuff that you can engage your kids with. So there's all kinds of resources available. If you're not a part of a group, join a group. I want to talk to specifically those of you who are not yet a part of your group. Look, I get it. If some of you are like me and you're like, this isn't my thing, or I have other things to do, or I have tons of friends, I don't need any more friends. Look, I've been there. Like I said, I get it. And I want to encourage you this week to think about showing up, not just for you, but for someone else. Some of you have years and years of wisdom on your life and insight, and you're just such a gift, and that gift isn't being given in this beautiful context. So find a group this week that you can connect to. I know that you will find life and freedom, and that others will find life and freedom in the midst of it. So we have so many beautiful things going on. If you need care, you can go to humanitychurch.com/care. We would love, love, love to be able to get you free groceries, to pray with you, to help you in any way, shape, or form, big or small. Let us know. Hey, we're going to be here next Sunday, and it's going to be a great time as we continue in this freedom conversation. So we will see you next week. Have a great week. Bye, guys.